relationships, routines, assumptions. Assumptions. What you believed worked and assumed worked here doesn't work here. God allows you to exhaust all of your paradigms and mental models and belief systems, and he allows them to stop working. Stay with me. There came a moment in the life of Peter where everything he knew how to do didn't work anymore. And at that moment, having fished all night and caught nothing but seaweed, he's commiserating on the shore while he's cleaning out the seaweed, figuring out, how am I going to pay the bills? And at that moment, here comes Jesus. Teaching, preaching, pressed by the crowd. And he basically says, Simon, can I borrow your vehicle and your experience to teach the multitudes how to handle being in the hallway? What do you mean? I want to use you as an illustrated sermon. You talking to me? He said, yeah, you want to know why? Because they need a rhema from me. And a rhema is a living word that applies to a context. You think you're the only one that's in the hallway? You think you're the only one on the planet where everything is shut down that you knew how to work and isn't work anymore? You think you're the only one that's had a setback and a disappointment? Give me permission to use your business as a platform. Well, what do you want to do? I just want to sit in your disappointment. And so Jesus is allowed by Simon to sit in his disappointment. And it said, Jesus sat down in the boat. That word sat down in the Greek is cathedros. Cathedros. What word in the English does that sound like? No, catharsis is another Greek word. That's like X-lax. Cathedros has nothing to do with X-lax. In case you want to know, that's like the Chironna version of what catharsis means. It's a purgative. In and out. Cathedros is where we get the word cathedral. Cathedral is the seat of the bishop. Jesus is the bishop and guardian of our souls. So when Simon allowed him to sit in his disappointment became the cathedral, the seat of the bishop. And when he sat down, everything had to come into alignment with what he was about to say. Hold on. My change is coming. My dream is on time. Hold on. My change is coming. My dream is on time. And once Jesus finishes applying a contextual word for the multitudes, he says, now, in order to pay you back, I want you to go back out where you were disappointed and let down. Loosen is the real word. You are so tense because you feel like you failed that until I get you relaxed again in the place where you think you failed, you won't see what I've got for you. I need you to loosen your grip. on your tension and anxiety out in that deep place where everything you've done hasn't worked all night. Because I'm about to show you that while you think fish only bite at night, I am the light of a whole new day. And while I've been preaching on the surface, my word's been moving in the deep. Hold on. Your change is coming. Your dream is on time. And see, what we need to do in the hallway is realize that the boat belongs to him. And let him sit down in our disappointment and give us a revelation that disappointment is his appointment. Because when Job says, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away, blessed be the name of the Lord, our preference is, I want to live in the Lord gives. But you haven't got the authority to be God. You have to be able to say, when you're in a season the Lord gives, blessed be the name of the Lord. And when you're in a season where the Lord takes away, even more, blessed be the name of the Lord. Why? Because the surest sign you are about to get a larger capacity for a larger blessing is that when he has you unload everything that filled your hands and now they're empty, you are about to get filled to a capacity you could not have had you hung on to that old chapter. Hold on. My change is coming. My dream is on time. Now watch. What do you do when you're born after all the good jobs are already taken? What do you do? 10 brothers are already grown up when God remembers Rachel and opens her womb. And 17 years go by, and he's ready to come into his own, but all the good jobs are already taken. All of Jacob's sons are doing everything that needs to be done. Joseph's got nothing to do. So what do? Well, watch. Joseph was the son of a barren womb of the woman Jacob loved. And all Jacob could think about was, this is my beloved son. And so he makes his son a mantle. Because when you got a mantle, you've got a mandate. Stay with me. We call it the many-colored coat. But the word varicolored in the Hebrew can actually be translated not all the colors of the rainbow, but an all-weather coat. In other words, Hebrew scholars tell us that this was a coat that went from the neck all the way to the feet, that was made from the hide of an animal that had a high resin on the outside, and that resin kept the heat in when it was cold out, and kept it cool when it was hot out, and kept it dry when it was wet out. So what Jacob put on Joseph was a mantle that enabled him to walk through any season without a shift inside him while he walked through the elements around him. And once he was mantled, he had a dream. You can't dream till you got a mantle. And Papa will always mantle you before he unlocks at an unconscious level the dream of your destiny. Because your destiny, the map, isn't out there in a library. It isn't out there in a conversation. It's in you. It's called tacit knowledge. It's stuff you will know and not know why you know it. You'll just wake up and say, I was born for this. Look at somebody and say, I was born for this. Look at somebody and say, I can't explain it to you, but I know in my knower, my dream is on time. When the great Eric Liddell was being chastised by his sister for wasting his time running track, because he should have been in Africa on the mission field, and she was a Pharisee in need of healing, like most of us. Because we always want people to live up to our image instead of God's. And he basically said to his sister, I'll eventually do that, but when I run, I feel his pleasure. In other words, I was born to do this right now. Something in me tells me I was born to do this. And so Joseph has this incredible dream, but he doesn't fully understand what it means. He's in a field, and there are 10 stalks of grain bowing down to his stalk of grain. So he kind of figures 10 plus 1 is 11. 10 brothers. One guy born a late day, late dollar short. That's me. This is about me and my brothers. So he tells them the dream. And basically says, hey guys, I had a dream about all of us. We were all in the dream. But the funny thing was, we were all stalks of grain. And at the end of the dream, my stalk was standing really tall in the noonday sun. But y'all's were laying flat on your faces in my direction. I'm sorry, but I tell it like I see it. So they were a little bit upset with him. So Joseph, because of that mantle, it keeps speaking to him. And by the way, you can say, well, he never should have told the dream. He had to tell the dream. Why? Because if you don't bring it to speech, it will not come to pass. So even if you've got to tell it to your enemies, you've got to bring it to speech. Because in the kingdom, nothing happens if it isn't spoken. And so now he has a dream. And now the sun, the moon, and the stars are bowing down to him. Which means, and by the way, the stars there refer to the constellations, the 11 constellations, or the 12 constellations actually. And that becomes a theme even with Abraham prior to that. So this is a theme they understand, the sun, the moon, and the stars. When you get to the book of Joel, and it says the sun will be dark and the moon will be turned to the blood and the stars will be falling from the heavens. Some people think that's literal. But if you go back to the original mention of what that's all about, it's about the old covenant nation of Israel and the shaking it's going to go through, and the new covenant nation of Israel, the church, and what it's going to go through. I'll leave that alone.